And next we have a game I was highly anticipating for the PS3 because I'm a huge fan of this RPG series, and that is the great Tales of Graces app with this awesome original Japanese artwork. And if you don't know what this is a kind of upscaled remake with extra content of a Wii game called Tales of Graces. And I actually beat this game. I'm still working my way through the extra contents. There's a lot of extra contents that had quite a bit of gameplay, but I beat the main story. It took me about 50 hours, and I really enjoyed what I played of this. I was shocked how much I actually like it. But I'll admit, I definitely had my worries in the beginning. I was kind of worried, but there's a lot of little changes, a lot of little annoying things in the beginning. That there's invisible walls like everywhere to stop you from going places, and the overworld was changed from, you know, a big expansive environment to more of a linear path that's point A to point B. And the battle mechanics, the battle system is actually changed. There's no more having to use orange gels or anything like that because you don't have a TP gauge, believe it or not. They got rid of that and replaced it with like a charging meter where you charge it up, and that's how you perform your arts. So believe it or not, I actually love the battle system in here. Some people it's hit or miss, but I love it. I love it more than Vesperia's battle system, because once you start getting towards the later end of the game, oh, you start to realize how incredible the battle system is. It's just so fast-paced. You start to learn insanely cool and just powerful moves. And I love the charging mechanics. It adds kind of strategies of what moves to use and how to maximize your charge, basically. And there's also accelerate mode, which, you know, each person has a different ability in accelerate mode. But really, a really awesome battle system. The story is actually really good. It starts off kind of slow, and I would say the first 10 hours or so are kind of slow in the beginning, but once it hits past that 10-hour point around there, it gets really good. It starts to get really interesting. A lot of twists and turns, great character development, which you should come to expect from Telltale games. And it takes you places you would not expect. So, and there's a lot of, I guess, homage to older Telltale games in here, which normally they don't do in main installments, but they literally just pay homage to like every Telltale game you can imagine, from Vesperia to Destiny. It's all in there. But there's some mini games too that are pretty fun. But overall, I was really surprised. Don't let this go under the radar. This is actually a really solid installment into the Telltale series. Definitely one of my favorite PS3 games, so definitely had to check out. Next we have a Wii game a lot of people have been anticipating for quite a while. Part of Operation Rainfall, and that is the great Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii. Available from GameStop and Nintendo. This is part of Operation Rainfall, one of the 3 games that everyone was clamoring to get localized over here. And I can say it's really impressive. It's actually really good. I've played about 40 plus hours into it now. This is part of my backlog challenge as well. But I'm pretty close to wrapping it up, and I can say from what I played, I was thoroughly impressed. I really enjoyed what I played. The story is really interesting. I think the Monado Blade is just interesting in its own right. The characters are fairly interesting. Some of them are kind of, you know, better than others. I'm not the biggest fan of Ricky, the little Nopon, but I hardly ever use him, to be honest. But it's really cool. It blends mechanics of basically like an MMORPG, where you go around these massive, and I'm talking massive, environments that are absolutely gorgeous. The variety in the environments is really incredible. It ranges from like marshes to like rolling hills to valleys and everything. Just gorgeous, and it changes from daytime to nighttime, so they look different, and the music changes from daytime to nighttime. Music composition in here, absolutely stunning. I sat there when I first put this game in there, no joke. I sat there as the intro started to kick in, and it's kind of like a screensaver almost. It's got the Monado Blade in a field. And I sat there and I started listening to music, and I'm like, oh my god, this music's incredible. So I literally sat there until the whole song was done or like repeated. Oh, beautiful music. But yeah, it combines those aspects of an MMORPG where you fight, you know, different leveled enemies, and some areas will have like really strong enemies that you can't even fight till you're like way powerful. But they drop loot, and that's the thing, you gotta kind of fight every enemy in this game because, you know, like an MMORPG, there's always that chance that you can get a rare like item drop, even from like a random weak monster. It ranges from like standard chests to silver chests to like gold chests, and it gets addicting trying to collect like the rarest items and just getting the rarest loot possible. The battle system is like kind of like an MMO where you have little icons and little moves you can do, and you'll use them and it'll start to fill up over and over. So if you played an MMO, you kind of know what to expect there. Not the biggest fan of the battle system. It's okay, I like it, it works, but I've never been into MMO stuff, so it's kind of new to me. But as I started playing along, I started to like it more and more, the battle system. It started to grow on me. I noticed this was a fun game to just kind of casually play, because you just sit there and just press buttons. So a stunning game. I absolutely love it. The story's incredible. This is definitely an experience worth checking out on the Wii. Definitely hands down one of the greatest RPGs for the Wii, and one of the memorable RPGs of this generation, Xenoblade. Before we move off, Xenoblade Chronicles, I did pre-order, and I was one of the lucky few who could get the Xenoblade Chronicles art book, which it's a nice collection of artwork. Basically all the artwork in here is a lot of the artwork that you'll remember from the contest they held when they were trying to decide the artwork, the reversible artwork for the inside cover. So you'll see that in here. There's some other artwork, and it's got like write-ups on the side. It's actually really high quality, even though it's not the biggest art book. You can tell the presentation is really nice. It's like everything's like really shiny, matte, super glossy. The characters are like embossed right here, so definitely had a nice art book. It was really quick. Still on the subject of Xenoblade Chronicles, believe it or not. My buddy Cliver from the Press Start podcast, if you don't know, the PSP podcast, shameless plug. You should definitely check it out. The links are always below, but just so you know, definitely check it out. It's a podcast I do with my buddy Clive and Derek Techno Squeak, and he had this poster that he got from PAX East, and he said, like, you know, I don't have the room for this poster. I'd rather, I know you're interested in the game, I know you'd probably display it and all that, so he sent this my way along with a surprise poster. But that is, and I saw this, and it was absolutely gorgeous, and that is a promotional Xenoblade Chronicles poster. And believe it or not, what's cool and why I really wanted this too is in the artwork competition, this was one of the artworks, and this is a winning artwork actually for the reversible cover, and this is what I voted for too, so it's pretty cool. I just liked how it had all the characters, so really cool. And they also included an extra poster here, also from PAX East, and that is a Street Fighter X Tekken poster. And really cool. We have two Xbox 360 games. First one here, I found it for really cheap. I always wanted to try it out when it came out, and that is From Mission Evolved on the Xbox 360 by Square Enix. This game came out, dropped pretty low in price right away because it was kind of critically bashed by a lot of people, and that, I'll be honest, this game was unrightfully bashed. It's actually really good. I really enjoyed what I played of this. It's different. Yes, I give it that. I understand that. It's different. It's not From Mission. From Mission is known as the SRPG series. But here's my thing. Square Enix wanted to try something different, and that was evident because they called it Evolved. And if they wanted to continue the SRPG style, they just would have called it From Mission 5. So I always like when companies, you know, kind of try something new with a franchise. I mean, why not? And basically what this comes down to is it's a like third-person mech action game. You pilot these mechs and just go around in these missions and with certain objectives, and you know, destroy other mechs and stuff and blow up stuff. Really awesome though. Like, it's every bit as good as like games that are focused on that, like Armored Core. It's every bit as good as that. So go into that just kind of expecting a mech action game, you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's got some really in-depth customization. You can get all kinds of weapons. You can even color the paint scheme, like just really detailed paint scheme. It just feels so good too. The controls actually work surprisingly well, and it just feels so badass, like just moving around with, like, you know, the jets on and just, you know, moving from side to side really fast. It's got a lot of cool little effects visually. So after this came to me as a surprise, and I actually really enjoyed what I played from Mission Evolved. But it can be challenging during the story. If you're playing through on normal, there'll be some challenging boss fights for sure, but it's doable and it's just an enjoyable little ride. The story's fairly good too, so definitely don't let the critics sway you away. Next we have a game that, you know, I bought From Mission Evolved at GameStop with this game and another game. But I saw this game and I had to get it because it was only $3, which I've been wanting a game forever too. I just never was able to find it till now, and that is Wartech Senko no Randi. This is an old school Xbox 360 game, came out really early on. And what this is it's really good too. I like it. It's a arcade game. It's an arcade game in Japan called Wartech, and it's made by G-Rev, who makes other arcade games. But it runs on the Sega Naomi hardware, so it's just a straight up arcade game on the 360, with kind of upscaled visually for the 360. But what this is a kind of like fighting game slash shooter. This sounds really interesting, but it takes place where you fight another person like a fighting game. You both have health bars. There's a time limit, but you're on like a kind of 2D, 2.5D plane kind of, and you move around. And each character has different weapons and like different abilities, and you shoot bullets like almost like a typical shooter, and you try and dodge bullets, and that's how you take damage. But you can also melee, each other, and it's got interesting end bosses, and there's actually multiple endings in this game and multiple end stages depending on which character you play as. So it's really fun, an addicting, simple little arcade game. It won't take you that long to clear the arcade. Maybe it takes you anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes at the most. It's not the longest game, but it's fun just trying to go through it and beat it with all the different characters. Pretty challenging too if you're playing on like the normal setting and stuff like that. So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, a fighting game slash shooter, it's definitely really solid, really fun, very Japanese looking too. So really high quality, very underrated game. If I had this when I made my underrated 360 games, this definitely would have been in there. So definitely a little hidden gem. And lastly, we have come to the end. We got the final game here that I bought from GameStop, actually on release date, believe it or not. And this, I kind of wasn't expecting to buy it on release date. It was just kind of, I guess, a spur of the moment purchase. Like, I was there browsing GameStop. I had a gift card because my birthday passed a while back. But I had a gift card and I saw it and I'm like, why not? I'll buy it. It seems interesting to me too. That is, of course, Kid Icarus Uprising. A lot of people picked this up. And this is a long overdue sequel, a new Kid Icarus game. And basically what this is a good way of describing it. It's kind of two different games too. There's flying stages, which you really do have to use the stand too, I'm being honest, because as soon as they introduced the the control scheme, I was like, wow, that's pretty awkward. But I tried the stand and it worked well. So you move hit with the analog stick. You move them like up and down, left, right, etc. And you move your reticle for shooting with the touchscreen. So the flying segments kind of feel like a space harrier, Panzer Dragoon kind of feel, if you can imagine that, where you're just flying around and you're just shooting enemies. It gets really chaotic too because you can really adjust the difficulty scale. So it's really in depth, and how hard you make it depends on how many hearts you get too. And there's a lot of unlockables to get in this game. Tons and tons of unlockable weapons. That's the kind of replayability aspect of this. And the other part of the game is ground stages, where you actually are on ground and move around in these kind of dungeons, and again you aim with your reticle with the touchscreen and all that. So really interesting level design. So there's a wide variety of levels. Really interesting story. The writing is actually surprisingly really well written in this game. There's some hilarious dialogue, surprisingly, and just a really well made, really masterfully crafted Nintendo game. Definitely a must-own for the 3DS. It's got an online component, but I'll be honest, I don't play that too much anymore. It was just kind of a fun thing while it lasted, but it didn't hold my interest for too long. But it's fun if you kind of like the Smash Brothers kind of style, like it's just overtly chaotic and all that. If you like that, you'll love the multiplayer. Tons of replayability, so definitely a must-own if you're a 3DS owner. I can easily say it's my favorite 3DS game so far, so definitely check out Kid Icarus Uprising. Wow, and there you have it, guys. That is my recent pickups. Just a lot of games that built up over time, and surprisingly I've actually played pretty much all these games, so I had a lot to say, so I apologize for the length of these videos. So definitely thank you for watching, and until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.